Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ruth Mandel, privileged to be director of the Eagleton Institute of Politics here at Rutgers University. My colleagues and I are absolutely delighted to welcome this crowd this evening, including many new acquaintances. This has been a long-anticipated event. I know some of you signed up for it the last time it was scheduled to happen, and as this past weekend approached, we thought it's going to happen again. Fortunately not, and we're all very happy to be here. For those joining us for the first time, I do want to mention that during every academic year, we offer many interesting public events focusing on American politics, and we invite you to learn and laugh with us as often as possible. You'll find a list of upcoming events on the back of tonight's program. I've just heard about another one today we'll be announcing soon, so we keep going, and we invite you to sign up for our email events notification if you haven't done that already. Tonight's program is once again made possible by our deeply appreciated good friends at the Blanche and Irving Laurie Foundation. As has been the case now for many years, we're very honored to have their support, gratified that they believe in the importance of programs to educate the public about this confusing, contentious, and too often frustrating political era we live in. With us tonight from the Laurie Foundation is a dedicated leader. She's not at all contentious. The Foundation's president, Laura Barron, and I'd like you to join me in recognizing and thanking Laura. Laura, where are you? In the halls of government and in the public square, where almost anything might happen these days, many of us have lived through moments when we didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tonight we decided to laugh, at least on the outside. I did consider introducing our speaker with nuggets of wisdom encased in wit, but then I concluded, and you'll probably agree wisely, that we'd all be better off leaving that to him. As considerate hosts, we would not want him to have a tough act to follow. Andy Borowitz is a New York Times best-selling author and a satiric genius who created the internet column, The Borowitz Report. This very morning's headline on the column, for those of you who didn't get it this morning, reads, quote, this is the headline, Tea Party issues scathing rebuttal to State of Union 12 hours before speech. It goes on to report, and I quote, that Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, appeared on Fox News Channel at 9 a.m. Eastern Time to read the rebuttal, which some historians called the most brutal response ever to a presidential speech that had not yet been made. Andy's column was acquired by The New Yorker and is now read by millions of people around the world. He's won many awards for his work, including the first ever Humor Award from the National Press Club. His most recent book is the best-selling memoir, An Unexpected Twist, which was named the best Kindle single of 2012 by Amazon.com. His books are on sale here, by the way, and he's going to stay for a few minutes after the program to autograph them if you'd like to get a chance to meet him and get his autograph. One of a long and distinguished roster of Harvard Lampoon alumni, Andy has been called a Swiftian, Jonathan Swift satirist by the Wall Street Journal, American's satire king, the Daily Beast, the funniest human on Twitter, the New York Times, and one of the funniest people in America, CBS News Sunday Morning. I ask you, when couldn't we all use a few laughs? I can't wait. Welcome, Andy Borowitz.
Oh, thank you very much. Let's hear it for Ruth Mandel, everybody. Yes. You know, she was a tough act to follow. She was hilarious, I thought. That whole stuff about the Laurie Foundation, I was peeing myself with that. That was just out of control, that riffing she was doing about the foundation. Just amazing. I want to thank you all for coming out here today. It's exciting for me. You know, I just want to say, kind of on a personal note before we begin, I've been a comedian for a long time, and I've played New York and Los Angeles and, gosh, really all over the world at this point. But I think I speak for all comedians when I say it's every comedian's dream to someday play the Eagleton Institute. It's true. I mean, just the roster of funny men they've got this year. E.J. Dionne of the Wall Street Journal. I mean, he is out of control. No, it is true, though. In the world of comedy, you know, there are certain venues you want to play before you die. And, you know, it's like Caesar's Palace and the Eagleton Institute. But the conventional wisdom is if you can make it at the Eag, as we call it, you can make it anywhere. It's really true. It's really true. And, yeah, humble brag. Yeah, it's true. I want to tell you a little story. I belong to a club you probably all have heard of, the New York Friars Club, and it's a club that really the most famous comedians in the country belong to, people who are way more well-known than I am. And every Sunday, I have brunch at the Friars Club with two comedians who I'm sure you're all familiar with, Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart. And yes, two giants. And we like to sort of sit down and just talk about, you know, family and, you know, the world and our careers, stuff like that. And this past Sunday, the topic of conversation turned to what gigs we had coming up this week. And John was excited because he was going to be doing the Letterman show. That's always like a cool thing to do. And Stephen was actually going to get on a plane and go out to do the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And then it was my turn. And I've got to say, you know what, I was a little bit torn because on one hand, I didn't want to appear to be boasting because neither of them have played the Eag, you know, and but on the other hand, you know, I didn't want to be too evasive because the world of comedy, it's just a very, very small world, and when something really big is going down, it has a tendency to leak out. So I was really in a bind. So I just decided to kind of play it down and play it cool, and I said that I had a gig in New Jersey. And Colbert said, "It's the Eagleton Institute, isn't it?" So, you know, from that moment on, the envy was kind of palpable. But I'm excited to be here, and I'm so excited that you've all shown up. I like to do a little bit of market research at the beginning of my shows, just to kind of get a sense of what brought people here. I want to know how many people here came because of me, just for applause. We can have some. Okay, quite a few. And how many of you were drawn by the ticket price? Okay, that's good. This is very helpful to me because I always like to know what my price point is, you know, for marketing purposes. So it's good to know. But I want to thank you for turning out. And I swear, as God is my witness, I will give you your money's worth tonight. I swear. Are you with me on that? Good. We can do this now. We have a lot to talk about, and most of my show is actually not like, you know, this thing that I've been all these memorized lines. I like to improvise, and I like to ask the audience to help me out by telling me what's on their mind and ask me some questions. So I'm just going to talk for a little bit, and then I'm going to throw it open to your questions, and then I'll talk a little bit more at the end. But we've got about an hour, and we're here at the Eagleton Institute, which is all about politics. And I thought, since we have an hour, maybe I could fix our political system. Are you with? I think that would be good. I think we could do that. We'll probably have some time left over and talk about sports and stuff. But I think I want to really, we have a lot of problems in this country, and I really want to fix them. I want to start with a little story. This is a true story. I live in New York City, and I was on the subway a few weeks ago, and a guy was sort of staring at me and was really kind of looking at me very intently. And I just thought, well, maybe he, I don't know, recognizes me from, I do TV sometimes, maybe he's seen me on TV or the internet or something like that. And he came a little bit closer to me, and he was still staring, and he said, excuse me, have you ever considered getting a nose job? And I said, another one? And then he kind of, backed off a little bit, minded his own business. But it was weird because, people do come up to me a lot, especially in New York. People, know me from the Borowitz Report or whatever, and they always want to talk about politics. That's all they want to talk about. People are really interested in politics, and I guess you guys are probably that way too. And one thing that they'll say to me sometimes, which really blows my mind, is they'll say, have you ever considered running for office? And what I always say to them is, you don't understand my role. I'm part of the problem. It's like I just am good at pointing out what's screwed up in the world, but I would never be able to come up with fixes to anything, and that's as it should be. Somebody like me, who's basically a destructive force, should not be in politics. And they'll say, no, but you're very knowledgeable. And I'll say, why would you say that? And they'll say, well, you write that column for the New Yorker. And I'll say, I just make all that shit up, okay? I mean, I'm like Paul Ryan or something. Sure, why not? It didn't happen, but why not? That's just my thing. And they say, no, but you really are very knowledgeable. And I'm so confused as to why anybody who's actually read stuff that I've written would conclude that I was knowledgeable. It makes no sense to me. And then I realized that I think that our expectations for how knowledgeable people are have been lowered after years of watching cable news. I think that's the only possible answer, because I've watched a lot of cable news, and all I've got to say is watching cable news because you want to become informed is like going to Olive Garden because you want to live in Italy. It's just, and they're all the same. I've watched CNN, we probably have some CNN viewers here, and CNN bills itself as the best political team on television. And what I want to know is, what tournament determined that? Just show me the brackets that made that possible. Because I'm sure, CNN probably thinks, okay, they're in, a bracket with Fox News or something. But Fox News doesn't see it that way. Fox News thinks that they're in a bracket with the Sci-Fi Channel or something like that. I think it's really cute how every now and then Fox News will pretend that it's an actual news channel instead of a right-wing propaganda organ. Every now and then they'll do the weather. That's adorable. So adorable. But CNN does a couple things that really kind of tick me off. One thing is they're so intent on being balanced. Everything is like balanced on CNN to a really ridiculous degree. Like, I think that if someday Jesus comes back, they'll have him on probably, but they'll have him on a split screen with Satan. And they'll like debate like good and evil for like 3 minutes, and then Soledad O'Brien will say, well, gentlemen, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. And that's like the CNN approach, very balanced. The other thing that CNN does, which drives me crazy, and they're all doing it now, and this isn't anything new, but they always have, like, to show that they're interactive and hip, like at the bottom of the screen, they'll have like viewer email, you know? And if you actually take the time to read the CNN viewer email, there is no more damning indictment of the American educational system than CNN email. I mean, these people, they not only don't know how to use spell check, they do not know how to spell check. I mean, like, you know how like there are 3 ways to spell the word there? You know, you're an educated audience. There are 3 ways. That means when you sit down to type the word there, you've got a 1 out of 3 shot of getting it right, just before you type a thing. CNN viewers attack those odds with a vengeance. They just don't. And it's really a dispiriting thing. You know, they used to say that, like, if you put 1 million monkeys in front of keyboards, eventually we would get the complete works of William Shakespeare. Now, you would get the Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer, is what you would get. That's what you would get. I love that show. It's like Wolf Blitzer in front of all those TV screens, like he's a salesman at a Best Buy showroom, you know. I knew CNN was in shit shape when the TV screens started disappearing one by one. You know, they were selling them off. You know, it was bad. So CNN, yeah, CNN is kind of a tough sledding as a viewer who's trying to get them informed. And then you've got, of course, MSNBC. Do we have some MSNBC viewers in the audience? Yes. Well, I respect that, I guess. I mean, I guess you like MSNBC, but you know what? You like MSNBC because you agree with the things they tell you, but don't kid yourself. MSNBC is basically Fox for vegans. It's the same thing. It's just you happen to agree with their shit. You don't agree with the Fox shit, but you like them, and that's fine. They also, by the way, have maybe the worst slogan of anything ever. Do you know what the slogan of MSNBC is? Lean forward. Yes. That is also the official slogan of the rectal exam. You know? It's like, what was the meeting like when they came up with lean forward, you know? I mean, what was their second choice? You might feel some pressure. I mean, I was like, Jesus. So yeah, so our standards of knowledge, who's knowledgeable, have been clearly lowered by years of this crap. But I think like the fact that people would actually turn to me as a potential political candidate shows like a deeper problem. I think it shows that our standards of who actually could serve in office have been lowered to a ridiculous degree. And I think we've just been worn down for years and years of seeing these clowns. I mean, I think, to me, the most epic example of this was just in this past year. And it wasn't the general election, which I thought was kind of boring on the whole, but it was, to me, the Republican primary was just epic in what it said about where we are in terms of our talent pool in this country. Because, I mean, I don't know if any of you watch those debates, the Republican debates, but if you watch those debates, the only thing I can compare it to is it was like watching a sitcom with no main characters and just wacky neighbors. It was like, you know, you turned on Laverne and Shirley, and for some reason that week the girls didn't show up, and it was just a half an hour of Lenny and Squiggy, and you were saying, what the fuck? I mean, now there's always, it's not just a Republican thing, because there's always been an element of this sitcom wacky neighbor thing in all of these debates. I remember on the Democratic side in 2008, you know, you had in those debates, you had the main characters. The main characters were Hillary and Obama, right? And they were always center stage. And every now and then you'd cut to a wacky neighbor like, you know, Dennis Kucinich, you know? And he would say, I think we should get rid of the Defense Department and turn it into the Department of Flowers. And they'd cut back. He was like just briefly tolerated, and they'd cut back. So it's always been a thing. We like to have our fringe candidates, but in the Republican debates, it was just like there was no main character. You just kept on cutting, and it was just everywhere you went. It was like Lenny and Squiggy. And I mean, I don't know if you remember these guys, but they've just been burned into my consciousness. Like we had Rick Perry, you know, as like this drunk governor of Texas, because like that worked out so well the first time, you know, and I mean, it was like this historic moment in one of the debates where literally a major candidate for a major party had a drunk blackout in the middle of a debate, which is like a new low. I mean, we've seen some crazy shit. We've seen people like photographing themselves naked and putting it on Craigslist, but you know, they never thought any of us would see that. I mean, he was in a nationally televised debate and he had a drunk blackout. It was like they asked him to name some agencies he would cut if he were president. And he said, I would cut 3 agencies. And then he named the first 2 and then could not remember the 3rd agency on his own fucking list. I mean, like, it wasn't like somebody said, you know, name the 3 crown princes of Austria or something. It's like, this was his list. He wrote this list. It was like, you know, egg, butter, bread, you know. It was like, he had this list and he could only remember 2 out of 3. So like, he was a major candidate for a major party. And then who else? You had like Rick Santorum, you know, the crackpot in a sweater vest, and he was like, you know, anti-gay marriage, and it takes some balls to be anti-gay anything when you wear a sweater vest. I'm sorry. It's like, dude, no, don't do that. And then like you had, oh God, what's her name? Oh, Michelle Bachmann, who's like, doesn't believe in evolution because it's always let her down, and you know, I just... And was there like a pizza guy there, or did I dream that? No, that happened. There was a pizza salesman, just a random pizza guy, up on stage, again, for a major party. He was on the cover of Newsweek, a pizza guy. Yes, a credible candidate, a pizza guy, who said we had to be worried about Red China getting the bomb. Yeah, that was one of his concerns. And you're like, look, I have no, just so it's clear, just one of my biases here, I've got nothing against pizza people getting into politics. I think that's fine. I love pizza. It's great. But I thought it said something about this Republican field that they couldn't attract somebody from a first-tier pizza chain. I mean, where was Domino's or Papa John's? I mean, it was like, really, Godfathers, that's the best we can do as Americans? And, you know, it wasn't so much that he was from the pizza world or anything. It's like he just had put so little effort into preparing for these debates. Because, I mean, think about it. Like, a presidential debate is like a job interview, right? It's like a job interview with the entire country. Now, let's say you were going on a job interview at Radio Shack. Wouldn't you take the time to maybe Google what a radio is or what a radio does, you know, just to be up to speed for the interview? Well, he was like interviewing for the job of President of the United States. And I know, look, some people say the United States isn't what it used to be. You know, it's in decline. Fair enough. I got to tell you, the United States is still one of the top 100 countries in the world. Are you with me on that? USA. Okay, so we're in the top, conservatively speaking, top 150. Let's just say that. We're there. You know, we're in there in the mix with Andorra. We're there, but But I think running for president should still like count for something. And like Herman Cain showed like just a minimum acquaintance with like the three branches of government, you know? Or as Rick Perry calls them, the two branches of government. You know, he was just barely up to speed. And I was watching this spectacle, and I was feeling so bad for our country, and I was thinking to myself, this didn't just happen by accident. Like somebody had to lower the bar for all these dudes. Who was it that lowered the bar for what the acceptable level of ignorance could be for a candidate to have and still run for a major national audience? Do you have any idea who that was? Well, there's some interesting difference of opinion about this. I would agree that it was Sarah Palin, and I'll tell you, I can pinpoint the exact historic moment when the bar was lowered. It was in 2008 when she did her interview with Katie Couric. And Katie Couric said, "Can you name one Supreme Court decision that you disagree with?" And she said, "Nope, but I'll look it up and I'll get back to you." Now, wait a minute. Somebody asks you to name a Supreme Court decision. You got to pull something out of your ass at that point. Like Ali versus Frazier. Just say something. Just say something. So you had this group of people, and you think, like, well, they had to pick somebody out of this incredible bunch of losers. And the guy they chose, of course, was Mitt Romney. Now, Mitt Romney, let me just put it this way. He was really a horrible presidential candidate. And we should have known right from the beginning because, you know, his campaign started in the summer, and the first thing he decided to do was show off his foreign policy chops by visiting that hotbed of international conflict, London, England. And while he was there, he created the first international incident with the British since the War of 1812. And then, just a few weeks after that, this secretly taped video came out where he said some things at a fundraiser that made him sound like, what's the word I'm looking for? Sociopath. No, not race, sociopath, actually. But you know, one man's sociopath is another man's racist. I have a big tent attitude about these things. I think during the campaign he was divided over whether to emphasize racism or sociopathy, and he went more with sociopathy. It was just, they probably did a focus group and said, are you more likely to vote for him if he seems to be a racist or a sociopath? And people probably said, sociopath, you know, and they went with that. So, you know, the truth lies somewhere in between. But yeah, I mean, from that moment on, he was doomed because, you know, I did some research, a little homework on this topic, and actually, no man has ever been elected president after telling half the country to go fuck themselves. So, it was a bad move. It was a bad move. Can't blame him for trying. It was something new. Hadn't seen it before. So now, I said to you at the beginning that I was going to fix our political system, and actually it just sounds like I'm part of the problem, right? Because all I'm doing is complaining, and I'm taking all these easy shots at, you know, at the impaired, and it doesn't seem fair. But there is a point to what I'm saying. There's something constructive, because how did we wind up with this brand of candidates? How did we wind up with Mitt Romney as a candidate? It's worth asking the question, and I have a theory about this, which is he had the most money. That's my incredible theory. Because if you look at the Republican primary, Mitt Romney spent $70 million to win the Republican primary. That means he had to spend $70 million to defeat the pizza guy, the guy in the sweater vest, and I haven't even thrown like Newt Gingrich in this mix, you know, like that guy, the guy who like, you know, did everything crappy in the 90s that, you know, that Creed didn't do. You know, it's like he just was, So that was the group. We had this incredible crappy group of candidates. It still cost him $70 million to defeat those guys. And then you're going to throw him up against one of the most talented politicians in American history. How much money do you have to spend to do that? About $1.5 billion. This election, we spent about $2.5 billion. That's what we spent. It's a good thing our roads and schools are in such awesome shape, or I'd be pissed. Be really pissed off about that. So now you may be getting a sense of how I think our system could be fixed. I think we have a lot of things wrong with the system, but I think the biggest problem is money. And the problem is how we keep on trying to solve that problem is the wrong way, which is we keep on trying to pass laws. And who are the people passing these laws? They're the politicians who like things just as they are. So nothing's going to change. We're going to have campaign finance reform, but then we're going to have Citizens United and PACs and super PACs and ultra PACs, and they're raising more money than ever. So no amount of laws is going to change anything. Except for one, I do have one concept for a law that would change everything and would fix everything. Let me let you in on this. A few years ago in our country, a couple decades ago, we decided that cigarette smoking was a bad thing. It was killing too many people. It was causing too many diseases, too many social problems. And so we got together as a society and we decided that we would ban cigarette advertising from TV. So my solution is that we ban political advertising from TV, right? Makes perfect sense. Politicians kill more people than cigarettes. They do. Because politicians will do things like they'll invade the wrong countries and kill thousands of people when they should have just been, I don't know, in their bathtub doing paintings, where they could do no harm. We create all kinds of social problems that cigarettes wouldn't even dream of doing because we have these politicians in there. And a lot of people would say, well, wait a minute, you can't ban cigarette advertising. It's First Amendment, it's freedom of speech. No civilized society would try to put limits on political advertising, which is why Great Britain does put limits on on political advertising. They don't have the crazy system that we have. They think that we're out of our minds. So it's an easy fix, folks. All we would need is a constitutional amendment, and you know how easy those are to get through. But I'm an optimist at heart. I do think this will work. And just to get a sense of where we stand on this, I want to take a little informal poll. How many of you would be in favor of banning political ads from TV? Okay. Well, that is very good news because actually in politics there's a saying which is, as the Eagleton Institute goes, so goes America. So we are in excellent shape. So, wow, that was like 40 minutes and I fixed our entire political system. That's incredible. Can you believe that? Amazing. Now, I'd like to, at this point, as suggested, I'd like to open up the floor to your questions. And please, make them questions and not comments. Because if you have comments, please go on the internet, because that's a great place to do that. But I'm really interested in, what you want to know about current events. It doesn't have to be all politics. It can be other stuff that you're curious about, questions you might have about me, where I came from, what my hopes and dreams are. Any of that is fair game. So I'm just going to call on people and you can, yes, sir. Why do I think the Pope is really resigning? Oh, come on, he wants to quit while he's on top. He's had a great 8 years, he's had a great run. I don't know, I buy him when he says he wants to spend more time with his family. I do. I mean, I really do. Well, just lost a Catholic, just like that. Sneaking out. Can't please everybody. Okay, showing a badge. What does that mean? You're a narc? I mean, what is... Said, freeze. Just showed a badge. I don't know. Sorry. Respect. Anyone else with a badge may now leave. That is the rule. Okay, who's our next question? Yes, right up front. What do I think of Christie's weight? Christie whom? No, I don't like to talk about women in such an unflattering way. You know what? What do I think of Christie's weight? That is, this is one thing I've actually made a blood oath that I'm not going to do jokes about Chris Christie's weight. I just won't do it because it's too, well, they can be very funny, but I just don't think, I think there's so much else to talk about Chris Christie. I don't mean to, I'm not trying. Are you the same one that shouted out racism earlier before? This is good. You have some sort of impulse control issue. It's really, and which I think is cool, but it's terrifying me. So, could you please write down all your future questions and then maybe burn them? That'd be great for me. Like what? We are at the Eagleton Institute, young lady. We do not have outbursts. That is for the State of the Union address. You lie. Okay, I will tell you my favorite thing about Chris Christie. This is not my joke, so I can quote it. But my friend, you all know Susie Essman from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Well, I was doing a show with her a few years ago, and we were talking about political candidates and rising political figures, and somebody from the audience said, does Chris Christie scare you? And she said, only at a buffet. So that was good. That was pretty good. I was just quick, I really like that. But no, Chris Christie, I just love Chris Christie. But I can guarantee you, even if some of you here love Chris Christie, you don't love him as much as Chris Christie loves Chris Christie. Because if ever there was a politician that was in it only for himself, it's Chris Christie. Personally, I like it when people backstab Mitt Romney because he was sort of asking for it. He was such a kind of sociopath / racist. But that thing that he did to Mitt Romney like a week before the election when he was like, he changed his status on Facebook to in a relationship with Barack Obama. And he was just in this kind of like Dawson's Creek montage with Obama the whole week. That was like a total dick move on his part. It was like the worst thing ever. So, I just think he'll go far in America with that because in America we reward selfishness. So, he'll do very well. Yes. No. I asked this. Mm-hmm. Well, that sounded suspiciously like a comment to me. Or an anecdote. Also, no anecdotes about people's wacky aunts who should be hospitalized. But no, your aunt said that she watches Fox News and The Daily Show every night, and she was disappointed when she found out The Daily Show wasn't real. It's just the other way around. Because, seriously, you think I'm taking an easy shot at Fox News, but The Daily Show is real news. Jon Stewart shows clips that are not photoshopped in any way. They're real clips of real news, and then he just makes a comment, or he just raises an eyebrow, and that's funny. His show is 100% real information. Fox, on the other hand, is the network where on election night had one of their major pundits claiming that Mitt Romney won Ohio. That is fake news. That is like the kind of shit I am paid to do, and I resent it when they're stepping on my territory. But that is very funny. Your mother should have stuck with The Daily Show for information, and then for a few cheap laughs, switch over to Fox. That's what she should have done. But that's what I make of it, if you ask me. Yes, sir. Whoa. Hey, Eagleton. Let's calm down. We have time for everybody. The gentleman in the lovely blue sweater. Yes. You know, that is really probably the most boring question I've ever been asked. That was, I think I should point out, any question that is going to require the use of Excel or a PowerPoint or spreadsheets is also something it's not fair game for here. I only got as far as pre-calc, and that enabled me to answer the question about that lady's aunt, but I cannot make head or tail of that. You're saying, what do you make of the fact that the blue state people who make more money and they get the least amount of help from the federal government, and the red state people are the most dependent on federal aid and they make the least amount of money, and they should, instead of hating the federal government, they should love the federal government because the federal government is giving them more money. Is that the essence of your question? Okay, why didn't you ask it like that? Because you're not getting a grade here, Poindexter. This is Eagleton. This is supposed to be community where we're all just sort of sharing. And it's not about impressing people with things like median and income, you know, words that none of us understand. Let's just keep it simple. What I make of that is that you know, I think as people get more money, they also tend to get more education, and I think with education we get a sense of perhaps the greater good. That's the goal of education, is to get a sense of community, and so maybe that's one possible explanation. But your incredibly boring question led to an even more boring answer, and I hate you. Okay. Where? Oh no, you. Hey, look. Get medicated and come back, and we'll talk. No. I don't want to. No shots at people. I am on several medications right now, as I think I've made painfully clear. So this is not at all. No knock on people, including heroin. I should have. But what? If I call on you once, will you pipe down for the rest of the show and let some of your compadres have a time at the wheel? Okay. What's your name, by the way? Maritza. Okay. Okay. So Maritza, hit me? What do you got? Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Racist! No, well, who do I like? I like Sotomayor. I think she's great. I think she's good. I like her. I think she's great. She's got she's going around the country on a book tour right now. And I think that's great. You know, I think I would take a long vacation if I had a job for life too. You know, it's like, yeah, what the hell? They don't need me at the office. Just try to fire me. It's in the Constitution, fuckers. Yeah, I love her. That's it. You know, you get that job and then it's coasting. You know, it's coasting the rest of the way. No, but I like her. I think I like all of them. I think Clarence Thomas is great. I like his wife really though. I like when his wife just starts doing crank calls in the middle of the night. You know, she calls people. That's cool to have as Supreme Court justice, you know. But, no, I like, who else they've got? They've got, John Roberts. I liked him. He's the reason we have health care, because John Roberts, so you got to like him, right? Oh, we like health care, don't we? People do not like health care. I see. I'm sorry I raised such a controversial idea. You like going to the doctor and being healthy, right? Ooh. No. I guess I don't know the Rutgers community as well as I thought I did. I thought you liked to live. Yes, sir. Hillary for Pope. I don't know. I don't know if she's a natural for Pope. I would be interested in knowing, who would be a good candidate. I mean, I think actually Oprah would be better because, Oprah is already the leader of a much larger religion. So it's and she's infallible. You know, so she's got really all. I would go for Oprah over Hillary. I think so. I think it would be good. That'd be good. So that's my suggestion. Not Hillary. Yes, sir. Add to that Popra. What do I think of what prostitution scandal? The who scandal? Oh, Senator Menendez. Well, you know, it's funny. I don't think I'm a fan of scandals. I think they're always really interesting. But I don't think his doesn't really have, like, really good details that make for a memorable scandal. Like, I like things like, to me, like, the best ones are things that result in, like, the worst excuses for the scandal. And I haven't heard, like, my favorite excuses, obviously, I was really just on the Appalachian Trail is a great one. I mean, I just think scandals should be judged by how lame the excuses were. That was one of my favorites. And my other favorite is really, I'm very partial to Larry Craig saying, I have a wide stance. Because who among us contemplates their bathroom stall posture? You know, you're looking down at your feet and saying, my gosh, my feet are spread in a very uncharacteristically wide way. I really take up a lot of room in this stall. So I liked that. I liked when James McGreevey announced his scandal, because that was also a coming out. Do you remember his exact words? He said, I am a gay American. I just love that he turned being gay into an ethnic group of some sort. It's like, yes, I came from the land of Gayopia many centuries ago. It was just so strange. Gay, I never heard that term gay American before. But no, the Menendez thing, we'll wait and see. I want to find out what his explanation is, you know, for it before I say it's a bad scandal or not. But I thought it's a very memorable scandal, but I thought that the Anthony Weiner scandal was a ridiculous scandal. I mean, it was very high tech, and it got a lot of attention for that. But I mean, I just love the fact that he was, like, booted out of politics for, like, tweeting something that Newt Gingrich actually did many times. Like, I mean, it just seemed ridiculous to me. Think about it, if politicians just tweeted the shit they were doing instead of actually doing it to us, we'd be so much better off. But it should have been kept. I mean, I'd much rather have them just tweeting all day. It would be much safer. Yes, sir. Why do I think John Boehner cries so much? I think he's laughing on the inside, actually. I think he is. You know, I feel so bad about even making fun of the Republicans right now, because, you know, there is that State of the Union thing going on tonight, and, you know, they're all trying to muster, you know, they'll be looking all grumpy and stuff and grouchy. They always cut to the Republicans looking all grouchy. And it's so great because, like, the president always, like, trips them up. Like, he'll say things like, they're all, like, being grumpy because he'll say things like, I think everyone should have access to health care, and they're always looking very grumpy. And then he'll say things like, I think the puppies are nice, and they're all looking grumpy, and they go, oh, wait, no, we agree with that. He's always, like, saying these things that everybody agrees with, and so you cut to Mitch McConnell saying, no, I don't like children. No, children should not be fed. It's like it's a terrible thing. But the Republicans now are like, they're in such a state of disarray. Like, they have Marco Rubio is like, who's pretty cool, and he's like responding, he's doing the official response. And I honestly think he's the only Republican they could find who is not clinically depressed right now. It's like, they're like so destroyed. The only thing I can compare them to is like, they're like the LA Lakers. That's what they're like. It's like I know, a little harsh, but true. Like, you know, they're this like, it's like the Lakers. Like, we look at the Republicans and you can dimly remember them winning at some time. But it's hard to picture them doing it now. It's really hard to picture. It's like, you know, they're all just at each other's throats and they hate each other. It's bad news. But it'll be interesting. I guess we're missing the State of the Union for this shit. But you know what I want to see? The State of the Union I want to see is Kim Jong-un's State of the Union. Because that is going to be good times in North Korea. It'll be like, the State of the Union is strong, and people are going to be like, fucking A, it's strong. We're in good shape now. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. Do I have any reflections on Benjamin? I believe it's Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu and his coalition building in Israel. You know, I don't follow Israeli politics as closely as I should. I mainly know Benjamin Netanyahu as an amazing cartoonist because he drew that beautiful picture of that exploding bomb that he showed to the UN. And I thought that was good. Like, we're very worried about Iran developing nuclear weapons, and it was good just to come up with the funniest possible picture of a bomb. It really lightened the mood of the whole place. So as an entertainer, I really appreciate what he does. Who's next? Yes. Yeah, I mean, Ted Nugent, who I guess has threatened to kill the president, is attending the State of the Union, which seems completely unfair that, like, you would let a guy in who's on record as saying, I would kill the president. I just think, we would let, like, John Wilkes Booth in to a State of the Union? It just doesn't seem, I mean, I know that we're trying to be inclusive and everything, but I just think it would be great if you were there and then, like, right in the middle of the speech, just out of nowhere, drone him, just like that. That would just be so amazing. And then President Obama just says, and God bless America, thank you. And then it goes on. That would be the best way to end the State of the Union address, I think. I mean, it would be a little draconian, but like, why are we even still talking about Ted Nugent at the state? I mean, is, like, REO Speedwagon going to be there? I mean, it just seems like, who the fuck cares? Styx is going to show up? No, Styx is going to give the official response to Ted Nugent afterwards. With Mr. Roboto. They're going to be there. Who the fuck cares? The problem with our pop culture is that we never can get rid of it. It's still there, you know, like decades later. Anyway, who's next? Anyone up there? Anyone up in the balcony? Yes, sir. Well, that's a good question. If I were to go back and do another sitcom, would I? And what would it be about? The answer is I don't think I would, because I really, I did that for so long. I did it for 15 years. It was a long time to be doing it. And I'm having, you know, just when you're doing things like sitcoms, you don't get the chance to drive to Rutgers and speak at the Eagleton Institute. And, you know, it's tough. It would be hard to turn my back on this. So no, seriously, I actually have so much more fun doing what I'm doing now. It's like I love being at the New Yorker. There's no better magazine in the world to be working for, and I really love. Thank you to the people who are pretending that they read the New Yorker. I want to thank you. But I don't even know, you know, like I don't actually watch a lot of sitcoms now. I think probably because it was such a big part. It was sort of be a busman's holiday for me to watch them. So I actually like more dramas now, although I would never pretend that I could produce one. But I love shows like, you know, Breaking Bad, stuff like that. That's really what I watch. Anyone else up there? Yes, in the turtleneck, or is it a neck brace? What is it? Or is it? I can't even tell. Are you a human? My eyesight isn't what it used to be. No, sorry. What? Yes, what's your question? Okay, the question is, what is my process like? How do I come up with what I do? And does a lot of research go into it? And you know, the honest truth is I put very little time into it. And I really think it shows in the finished results. I am just having fun. I honestly do not work hard at what I do, and maybe it does show, but for me, what it is like I never research the news. Every now and then I'll be careful that I'm like spelling, say, Obama correctly or something like that. But I don't, like, people sometimes have the impression that I'm like reading 5 newspapers and that I'm like Googling things and I'm all over. Actually, my real process is like I'm usually at the gym and I'll see like some headline on Fox News and it'll be something like about, you know, you know, Rand Paul or something like that, and then I'll just come up with an idea and I'll just type it up and that's it. I'm really not, my interest is really in the stories that we're all aware of. Like if I became very wonky and were aware of all this very sort of subtle stuff like, you know, oh, you won't believe the hilarious column I've got about budget reconciliation. That's going to be amazing. So it's like I really have a very superficial knowledge of what's going on in the world. I just know the same 5 stories that everybody else seems to be paying attention to at a given time. So I'm not really a news junkie. I really would describe myself more as like a cocaine junkie, where I just do cocaine a lot. No, I don't actually even do that. But I just really have fun with what I'm doing. I wish there was some, I could explain that I like have a bulletin board with lots of cards on it, and I'm like making all that. But I just, it's very sort of snap reflexive at this point. I hear something and then I come up with my own version of it and cast it off to the wind. So that's kind of it. Yes. Oh, okay, well that's an interesting question. The question is, what do I enjoy most about doing storytelling at the Moth? And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Moth, it's now a national radio show, so it's become a big deal, but we started doing this storytelling group in New York about 12 or 13 years ago, and it was really just people getting up, and it wasn't stand-up. People would get up and tell true stories, and some of them were funny and some of them were tragic. In my case, sometimes it was both at the same time, and I think what's really fun is it's a very old-fashioned form. There's nothing more old-fashioned than like storytelling, and you know, I think right now we're getting kind of, I personally am getting kind of up to here with like social media and our always being connected and our communication being shorter and shorter and shorter, and social media has definitely aided and abetted us in that, but also, you know, texting and everything else. And what's great about the stories of the Moth is that it's 10 minutes and people stand up and tell a story for 10 minutes, just like sitting around a campfire. And I think the reason the audience responds to shows like the Moth and This American Life obviously is a great example of it, is because it's a really basic human need to hear and tell stories. My daughter is 3, and all day long she's just like telling stories. She's making up things with her dolls and running around the apartment just making up stories. And that's like when she's like putting together a puzzle, she'll like make up, oh, am I boring you? I'm sorry, I'm talking about my fucking daughter. And she'll be putting together a puzzle, and in order to put the puzzle together, she'll say like, oh, the farmer has a horse, and she makes up a little story to make the puzzle. So it's obviously something that is very, very primal, and that's so cool. I just like it's the old-fashionedness of it that really appeals to me. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up with some, I would say, closing remarks, but before I do, I would like to take one more question, and the only thing I would say about this question is just try to make it a question that I would say sums up and synthesizes the whole evening in a way, you know, in a way that maybe makes us think differently about ourselves and the world around us. And so when we leave tonight, we'll maybe see colors differently, and we'll experience the world in a way that will be forever altered. So does anyone have a question? Yes. What is my opinion of the future of the Tea Party? Well, that is exactly the kind of transcendent question that I have. Well, the future of the Tea Party. You know, I think it's an interesting question. I think that you always will need, in any kind of gathering, no matter how sort of civilized it is on the surface, you always need at least one person who will sort of blurt out an insane comment. Am I right, Maritza? I'm right about that. And I think that the Tea Party serves that very valuable role in our society. Sort of the role that Maritza has performed tonight. Let's hear it from Maritza. And now I promised you I'd make some closing comments, and I actually did bullet points. I got a little organized about this because, it was raised at the beginning of this evening, or at least I raised it, this issue that people sometimes say, would you ever run for office? And I'm never going to do that. I really like the role I play in society, such as it is. But I often think that if I did run for office, that I would be capable of maybe raising some issues that other people really haven't brought up and that are important to us. So I actually wrote down a list of what I consider the 5 most important issues facing our country. Can I share those with you now? Is that okay? Okay, good. That was an overwhelming affirmation for that idea. All right, that was more. Thank you. Thank you for that completely manufactured, sarcastic ovation. All right, here are the 5 issues. I think you'll agree with some of these. Issue number 1, I think that McDonald's is out of control in this country. And here's why I say this. I was walking down the street the other day and on 6th Avenue, and I saw a sign that said McDonald's Express. Let's see if we can wrap our brains around this concept for a minute. This is a McDonald's, only faster, okay? So obviously the people at the McDonald's Corporation are saying to themselves, there are people out there in America who are thinking, God, I'd love to go to McDonald's, but who has the time? How would you possibly make McDonald's faster? Like shoot the food out of a cannon? Would that be like? How would that improve our lives in any way? While we're on this whole subject of fast food, I actually am a partisan of Boston Market. I think Boston Market is really good, but I actually think they have like the worst possible slogan because their slogan is "We're always cooking." And I'm like, what, you want a fucking medal? You're a restaurant. I mean, surprise me, it's like, of course you're always cooking. I'm pretty sure cooking makes up a pretty big part of Applebee's day as well, Do you know what, I saw the other day, what Denny's new slogan is? It's, we're cooking now. I'm like, fuck you, Boston Market's always cooking. Get out of here. Amateurs, just Johnny come lately to this whole cooking thing. It's crazy. All right, so that's my first issue. Issue number 2, I think that these reality shows like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, I don't know if you've watched those shows, but I think they're setting up like a really dangerous message to the audience. Like I think they're basically saying that like a TV show is the place where you should meet the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I think the place to do that is the internet. I'm a traditionalist. I actually have an idea for a reality show I would love to sell. It's called Trading Medications. And it's like, Maritza. I mean, it would be really an amazing thing. Like, one week you would take, one person who's acne, another person who's bipolar, and just like, must-see TV. It's great. That was in terrible taste. But I just had to share that with you. Issue number 3, I am concerned about the internet. I think it has kind of jumped the shark. And here's why I say that. The other day I was eating a bag of Doritos, and I was just finished the bag of Doritos, and I looked on the side of the bag, and it said, for more information, go to Doritos.com. Now, I was thinking, I've just eaten a bag of Doritos. What aspect of that experience did I find so confusing? And that's issue number 3. I feel very deeply about that. Issue number 4, I think there should be a law that says my father should not be allowed to watch the Weather Channel 24 hours a day. Because I think you should only be allowed to watch the Weather Channel if you actually intend to someday leave your house. That should be a law. Because if you're watching the Weather Channel and you never leave your house, you're watching weather porn. You're watching someone else's weather. It's gross. And actually, this leads me to my last issue, and this may be the issue that I feel the most deeply about. If I were running for president, I think this would be probably the top of my list of issues. And it's this whole issue of hotel room porn. Now, I'm not saying that I'm against it. I think on the whole I'm for it. But I really think that they should rewrite the way the ordering instructions on screen are currently phrased. Because right now what it always says is, movie titles will not appear on your bill. Now, I think it's sad enough that I'm sitting alone in my hotel room watching porn. They really don't need to introduce that whole element of shame into it. I mean, they might as well just say, movie titles will not appear on your bill, you sick, sick fuck. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Maritza. Goodbye.